Hello, dear somethings. Your favorite something here, D-Bone Plague. Look, if I'm honest with you, I don't really remember what the hell I'm doing here, so I... Wait, there's a note here. Okay, looks like the person who wrote these notes has everything figured out. Thanks a lot, Anonymous Savior. Get your weapons, uniforms, and chips ready, because today we go to war. Let's take a look at a truly forgotten gem called Metal Arms, Glitch in the System. You might be wondering, Mr. Plague, what the hell is this? I've never heard about this game before, and to be honest, neither have I. I feel like my memory has been completely wiped out somehow, so I don't know what to tell you. Oh, look! There's another note here. Oh, this one is big. It's almost like the script for a video, which is very odd, but who am I to question the vicissitudes of destiny? Metal Arms Glitch in the System is a third-person shooter action-adventure game with light platforming elements. It was developed by Swingin' Ape Studios and published by Vivendi Universal Games, more specifically their subsidiary Sierra Entertainment. If this name sounds familiar, it's because they published some other fairly known games, like Crash Tag Team Racing, Scarface The World Is Yours, and a little game called Half-Life 2. They were also responsible for publishing some atrocities against mankind, like Crash Boom Bang, Crash Mind Over Mutant, and the Legend of Spyro series. It was released on November 18, 2003 for the PlayStation 2, Xbox, and Nintendo GameCube. As I mentioned in my previous video, these types of games feel like a thing of the 6th generation of consoles, given that beyond that, the only franchise that has remained consistent is the Ratchet & Clank series, and even the games in that saga are few and far between. Some indie or AA games like Akimbot carry the torch of the genre, but that's not really saying much, and this specific game seems to have gotten lost in obscurity, which is where I come in. Is the game so forgettable that it deserves its lack of renown, or is it yet another hidden gem overshadowed by bigger names? Let's find out. In this game, you play as Glitch, an amnesiac robot who's found buried in a ditch and immediately enrolled into the Droid Resistance army. The plot of this game, while simple, has a good premise. Once upon a time, a scientist called Dr. Exabolt created a giant robot in an attempt to improve the current robot designs. But the experiment went wrong and the robot, calling himself General Corrosive, turned against his creator. He created an army of robots and now wants to exterminate all the droids, which is the main reason for the game's conflict and also why the Droid Resistance was created. As previously mentioned, this is a third-person shooter with some platforming elements, which fortunately are very few. Don't get me wrong, I love some platforming in my action games, but the camera of the game is too close for comfort in platforming sections. Also, it doesn't really help that you constantly walk and jump in a strafing motion. This is actually incredibly useful for combat sections, which form the majority of the game, but can lead to a lot of frustration when platforming is involved. The controls are simple and responsive enough. You move your character using the left analog stick and move the camera and aim using the right analog stick, or the C-stick in the GameCube version, which is the one I'm actually playing for this video. You also have a button to jump, one to change and reload your gun, one to choose your secondary weapon, and of course, the action button to interact with objects in the environment. You use the R trigger to shoot and the L trigger to use your secondary weapon, while the CR button is used to perform a melee attack that, to be honest, is absolutely fucking worthless. One small detail to keep in mind is that this game doesn't have subtitles, which can sometimes make it difficult to understand what the characters are saying in cutscenes or during regular gameplay.
You know I can't heal you without my glasses, Courage.
The gameplay is quite varied for a game of this type. Most of the time, you'll be thrown into a level which you have to explore and get from point A to point B to finish the mission. The levels are mostly linear, with some hidden paths where you can find health, ammo, or the game's collectible, secret chips. These chips don't actually provide a completionist reward, but instead are used to unlock stages for the multiplayer mode of the game. In the levels, you can also find two shady droids who act as merchants. They sell various things like guns, secondary weapons, weapon upgrades, health and ammo. I'd love to buy something here, but fucking hell, why is it so dark? I can't even see the prices of the things. And how do you buy all these things? With the main currency of the game, called washers. You get them by destroying objects in the levels and by killing enemies. One piece of advice: invest in upgrading your weapons as soon as possible. Otherwise, you won't make it far into the game. Almost all guns can be upgraded to level 3, with various effects modifying damage, ammo capacity, and even weapon functionality. However, not all these upgrades have to be purchased. You can find some of them hidden in the levels or given to you as story rewards in specific points of the game. Speaking of guns, you have a wide arsenal at your disposal, like the Reaper, a weapon that fires saw blades, perfect for damaging specific parts of the enemy robots and also cutting wires in the levels. The Spew, which is this game's equivalent of a machine gun, a rocket launcher, the Scatter Blaster, this game's version of a shotgun, the Rivet Gun, which shoots arrow-like projectiles that explode after a while once the weapon is upgraded, a flamethrower, etc. All these weapons use ammo, except for your default gun, which is a mining laser gun. This weapon just overheats and you have to wait for a while before being able to use it again. As for the secondary weapons, you have mostly grenades, with different effects like the classical explosion, incendiary grenades, a field that deactivates enemy robots for a short amount of time, one that recruits enemies to help you, and one that can select up to 3 enemies and send homing rockets on them. There is also one situational secondary weapon called the wrench, which makes Glitch fall apart. This one is only used in 2 levels for the sake of the plot, as it really doesn't have any effect in combat apart from maybe playing dead. Throughout the game, you will visit multiple locations where you must accomplish your missions, like mines, a big wasteland, military bases and trenches, laboratories, factories, cities, a coliseum, and even a space station. These and the different objectives given in each level provide the game with a unique atmosphere that truly emphasizes the stake at play and makes you feel like you're really in a war. Apart from regular levels, there are also some where you play as other droids. There's Moser, a giant droid who can just obliterate everything in his way. There's also Kronk, no, not that one, a short foul-mouthed droid who can only manipulate enemy robots as puppets, as long as they are stunned and you are behind them. He kinda sucks ass, to be honest. Finally, there's Slush, a manic droid who uses a flamethrower and is actually the one who gives you this gun. You can also sometimes take control of enemy robots in the levels by using some weird arcade machines. Some of them can be used as many times as you want, while others are common mobs that become unavailable once destroyed. Halfway through the game, you get Kronk's weapon, the Control Tether, allowing you to control any enemy that's either stunned or unaware of your presence, and sometimes it will even be necessary to advance in the levels. Speaking of enemies, there is a good variety of them throughout the game. You have your regular grunts with machine guns, the ones who shoot explosive arrows, and the ones with rocket launchers. These are easy to deal with, but there are others that can really give you a bad time. The guard, who I first thought was a mini-boss, becomes a regular mob in later levels and can easily obliterate you if you're not careful. Unless you use the Halo vehicle, in that case he's a complete joke. Troopers can be a pain in the ass too, due to their ability to fly, quickly shoot lasers at you, and move very quickly, although they are very vulnerable to the Rivet Gun's explosive projectiles. The most dangerous enemies, however, are the Titans. These are giant robots with machine guns and rocket launchers, so they hit like a truck and can resist a lot of damage. Rockets are your best options with these guys. Oh, and there are also robot spiders in this game. Fucking hell. As if regular spiders weren't bad enough. They are fast and come at you in big numbers, so as with every arachnid ever, your best tactic against them is killing them with fire. The game also has some vehicles you can control in the levels, like tanks and this weird Halo-like ship, as well as levels dedicated entirely to vehicles. Are these levels any good? You might ask, and well, if you thought Akimbot and Jak 3 were janky, trust me, you have no idea. This is the most ass backward control scheme for a car ever. In these vehicle levels, you drive the RIT, or Rapid Armor Transport, and you steer left and right using the C stick, while acceleration and reversing are handled with the analog stick. Words cannot describe how awkward and uncomfortable this is. There are other cars shooting at you that you can really avoid, and for some of these missions you even have a time limit to reach your destination. Otherwise, it's back to the beginning. There is one level where you control the vehicle's gun and it's even worse. If you don't destroy the enemy vehicles and obstacles quickly, you won't make it to the end. given how much the driver seems to enjoy getting shot at, and of course, there are no checkpoints in this level. I think now is the appropriate time to talk about one of the most controversial aspects of this game, its difficulty. When looking for reviews and information about the game, its high difficulty is always brought up as a detrimental factor. I chose the normal difficulty, so I should be okay, right? Oh god. Starting with one little technical detail, there is no feedback when you get hit. You can have your entire health drained without noticing if you're not looking at the health bar. Dying in this game is extremely punishing, as the checkpoints are relentless. The second Wasteland level, for example, is excruciatingly harsh with this, combined with some less than flattering enemy placement, can be an exercise in frustration. Should I also mention that health items are extremely rare? You can sometimes find them laying around the levels, in hidden spots, or they can drop from enemies you kill, but this is an extremely unusual occurrence. Fuck! This is impossible! You know what? I'm not gonna sit here and suffer like this. I'll just lower the difficulty. Wait. Where's the option to change the difficulty? No. No way. If you want to change the difficulty, you have to start a new game. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Looks like the only way of doing things is by buckling up and doing them. Let's go! Unfortunately, you cannot go guns blazing against the world. You'll get destroyed in seconds. Some sections require you to be extra careful and know the enemy location to properly react and strategize by using your resources correctly and using the level layout to your advantage. For example, in level 23, the hand is mightier, you have to deal with various turrets and 3 titans, as well as regular grunts scattered around in a pretty open zone. Since I was getting blown to smithereens on a regular basis, I decided to use distance and lure the titans to the starting area, where I had a pretty considerable cover and also access to the store, where I could buy energy or ammo if I was falling short. Even with this approach, I still got destroyed a couple of times before I could clean house and advance, aka run away from a predator that appeared on the last second when the way to continue the level opened up. Level 30. Bright Lights Mill City was made easier with the use of a recruiter grenade on a titan, who basically carried me through the entire section, like a big, muscled man carrying his girlfriend to bed. Okay, alright, who wants to drink beer and watch football? However, level 31, Get to the Tower, was a test of my might and patience. You start on a very open area with troopers constantly coming your way, and no matter how many you kill, they just keep respawning. Turns out, this happens because you must take control of one of them and use their flying abilities to open the access to a tank you need to use to advance in the level. You must use the EMP grenades to deactivate a trooper long enough for you to use the control tether on it, but believe me, this is easier said than done, as these fuckers are very fast and, well, can fucking fly. Oh, but beware once you open the door, because the grunts that spawn once the door is open can actually get into the tank and kill you. Things get very frantic by the end, as in level 38, one small step, you arrive at the Mill space station, guarded by a lot of grunts and 2 titans. You can hide in the central trench and pick apart the regular enemies, but both titans are going to be a big problem. The best course of action is taking down the unshielded titan using grenades and rockets from a safe place. Or, you know, just do whatever the hell I was doing in this part. I still have no idea how I survived this. Then, use the control tether on the robot who's asleep inside the spaceship. If you're patient enough, you can dispatch the shielded titan from underneath using the infinite grenades you have when controlling enemy robots. But don't let your guard down, as when you kill all the enemies in the hangar, more come as reinforcements, but you can easily deal with them from the upper platform when the unshielded titan was. Then, after a lot of suffering and hardships, you are finally face to face with the big baddie, General Corrosive, and when I say big, I mean it. This robot is huge, and if it gets even remotely close to you, it will stomp you for an insta-kill attack. Ain't that fun? In this level, you don't actually have to fight Corrosive. Instead, you have to find 4 chips hidden in crates in order to take control of him. Well, it's just breaking boxes and finding the chips, right? How difficult can it be? It can't be. This is impossible. I came all the way here for nothing. I can't do it. I don't even remember. Who am I? What is the purpose of this?
Remember who you are! Just read the note, Mr. Plague!
The note. I am I'm the motherfucking Dr. Plague! Okay, bring it on, you gigantic son of a bitch! Getting all the chips without getting blown to pieces by missiles or crushed is a daunting task. However, the crates also contain health and different power-ups like shields and a blue electronic substance that increases your running and jumping speed. Electro blow? I heard it's actually very good for your joints. My advice here would be to start destroying crates left and right and identify which are the specific crates containing the chips, as these don't change positions when you die. Once you know which boxes you have to destroy, just pick up a speed power-up and gather them as quickly as possible. If corrosive is getting too close for comfort, you can also destroy the floor in the center to enter a mini trench and avoid getting crushed, or take the jump pads all the way to the control center to avoid the missiles. Once you take the space station down, it's time for the final showdown with a debilitated General Corrosive. One curious thing about this game is that it actually only has 2 bosses, one being the giant zombie robot in the wastelands and the other the final battle with Corrosive. Anyways, by this point of the game, you're most likely very low on all types of ammo, so this can be a very tough battle. Not only can this enormous bastard shoot missiles and, of course, stomp on you, killing you instantly, but he can also summon troopers. If you have some EMP grenades and you're lucky enough, taking control of one trooper can prove extremely helpful to inflict damage on the boss, while Glitch remains impervious to damage for a while. There are some respawning ammo pickups around the battlefield, so make good use of those and save some health pickups for the final parts of the battle. Come on, almost there. Why won't you die, you son of a bitch? Finally, the reign of terror is over. And just like that, I have beaten Metal Arms Glitch in the system. Not only that, but I finally recovered my memory, and with it, the ability to give you the best final verdict of my entire career. So, what are my final impressions? Well, this is a game I don't see many people talking about, and now I think I know the reason why. I don't think many people have even finished this game at all. This has to be one of the most difficult and frustrating games I have ever played in my entire life. I can't say that the controls are the reason, as it is perfectly playable, even if a little bit stiff, but that has to be expected from a 20-year-old game. The lack of checkpoints was also a staple of that era, as I can remember how frustrating it was to beat Jak 2 and some of the toughest missions. Still, I have never felt the level of hopelessness, anger, desperation and impatience that this game made me experience. Some people would say that this game makes you consider carefully your approach and that gives it a strategical edge, but I say that it kind of enforces a passive playstyle of hide and seek in order to survive, and that acts in detriment of the pacing. According to How Long to Beat, this game can be beaten in 13 hours, but I can assure you it took me almost twice as much to get to the finish line. I mean, take a look at some of these times, it's just ridiculous. Either they are big fat liars or I suck at games, and we all know which is the most plausible option. Don't you dare say anything! Does that mean I didn't enjoy the game? Well, no. Actually, I had a blast with it. Third-person shooter action platformer games are totally my jam, and it's not like they are made a lot these days, so having the chance to play one of these games for the first time, it's really special to me. This game had a lot of fresh ideas for the time, like the limb breaking mechanic, the possibility of taking control of enemies, and the multiplayer mode, which I couldn't actually try for obvious reasons, but looks like a nice way to spend a Saturday night with pizza and some friends. The sound design of the game is pretty well done, with most of the tracks fitting the situations perfectly, be it a full-blown action sequence or a stealthy infiltration in enemy bases. The humor of the game is pretty on point too. The characters are just unhinged in a very 2000s way, and in one of the levels I even found a robot who speaks like Triple H.
Dishing out pain and destruction. Yeah, he sure is. Oh yeah!
The atmosphere of the game really gives the impression that you are in a war, and the story had a lot to explore if the original plans of making this a trilogy of games would have come to fruition. Overall, would I recommend this game? Definitely, yes. There's a lot to enjoy here for action platformer enthusiasts, so if you're looking for a game with wacky humor, lots of action, and that classic early 2000s charm, this is the perfect game for you. Just play it on easy, if you value your sanity and your time. Well, that has been all for today, my friends. Tell me, did you know about this obscure and forgotten gem? Have you played Metal Arms? Do you know about other games of this kind that I could bring to the channel? Let me know in the comments below. And remember... Alright, one game a day keeps the plague doctor away. See ya!